So here we go again, episode 3 of my CB radio show. So please stick around, plenty planned for this show. So yeah, let's crack on. Right, thanks for sticking with it. And yeah, big news this week is, at least as it stands, I've hit 3,000 subscribers. It's taken, well, it feels like decades to do so, but I finally got there. But as it stands at this moment in time, I've I don't know, 3,001 subscribers. So anyway, there we go. So thanks everyone for subbing to the channel, and yeah, let's say onwards and upwards. So there we go. Anyway, coming up in this episode, I got quite a lot planned, and I got quite a lot planned for quite a number of other future shows as well. So hopefully this will continue for at least the foreseeable future. Anyway, what we got coming up, I'll even have to read it, I've got so much going on. We'll have a look back this week at the progression into pretty much the late 80s, early 90s, as far as some of these CB radios are concerned, the timeline of CB here in the UK. And in particular, I'll be actually taking this Midland apart as we go to just make sure it's doing what I'm allowed to do with it as far as power output and things like that are concerned. So that'll be coming up. Also, I'm going to be doing an extra little bit of experimentation with the low pass filter element as part of that bench thing there. Also, in response to a request, I shall be showing you how to get the braid to fold over on some of these sort of coaxial dipole type antennas. So that will be coming up. Also, in response to another comment, I'll be doing some testing on the mic gain setting of the CRT Xenon, so keep an eye out for that as well. So there we go. Let's have a look, see if there's anything else I got lined up. Yes, I've also got some more footage of the Mid Wales net, so that'll be coming up towards the end of the show. Now we had a bit of a favourable conditions, should we say, come up on the last one, and initially I tried it from just at the top of the sort of driveway at the property, but that wasn't that great, so I thought give up on it. I went to do the shop run, and as I was driving back from the last shop, these guys were coming in sweet as on the Mid Wales net. So yes, I did manage to join in, but I didn't actually get any footage of me getting back to them on this occasion. But I do have some footage coming up at the end of the show from some of the audio that I was getting when I was square wheeled at the top of the driveway. So there we go. And yeah, really itching. I'm looking out there now, nice day again, itching to get back out there so I can do myself some justice on that net and other nets as well. So once I'm out and about, I've lost the plot with what's running, what's not running. So I'll relearn what's going on out there, and I'll try and get into all sorts of things. But if anyone wants to give me a gentle nudge and remind me, as a chap did last week, don't forget there's the south coast and southern net. But I must admit, I've lost the plot, what's running, and I guess during this sort of period we'd have lost some of the established nets. Maybe they won't restart, I don't know, but certainly I would imagine we've got some new ones, and as we're reinvigorated as far as getting out there and doing some radio, hopefully we'll see good support for those nets. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming up towards the end of the show. Anyway, let's crack on and let's have a look at this 1990 CBC. Right, so folks, history time again. So if you remember last week, we had a look at the Amstrad 901 and how it sort of was the timeline really of how CB radio went in this country back in the early days. It went from the boom to something of a bust, and you could see that pretty much epitomised by the way that say the Amstrad 901 went from being a Japanese made radio down to a Hong Kong made radio, and then ultimately we saw the Spinnytronic stroke Harvard, which you could certainly see was made to a budget. So there we go. By which time I was out of it. I'd come off the air because it was just solid on all the channels, so I'd come off already. But certainly I would guess after that initial boom and bust there was something of a plateau, and I guess there was a lot of old stock knocking around which kept the market fed for quite a while, and not too much perhaps in the way of new stuff coming out. And then I guess looking back at some of the radios that I never really knew back then, we started to see things like the G-Sans and the Teams and things like that coming through as the market sort of recovered to a sensible level. And don't forget, back then it still predated most people having any sort of mobile phone. I was quite early on the mobile phone scene in 1992, I think it was, but not many people in those days had mobile phones. So CB certainly had a place, certainly in trucks and things like that. And there was still a fair bit of use, but I guess once we started to get up to around about 1990 odd, we started to see some newer type kit coming onto the market, which as we can see is a continuation of this CB timeline. And what we'll be looking at in particular today is centre radio there, which is the Midland 77-1165. Now I'm going to be putting that one on the bench in a little bit to see what makes it tick. But as you can see, this one was, the Midland was made in May 1990, so it's still a 31-year-old radio. You might think, oh, these newfangled modern radios, but it's still a 31-year-old radio. But you can certainly see they're made to a budget. The switchgear is not fantastic. Now that bottom radio is a Moonraker Minor, same sort of footprint, a little bit more modern, but an old design. So we'll dispense with that one for a bit. What we've got here is a DNT Transit, and I say the Midland, and you can tell they are made to a cost. So I don't know what these things would have retailed at back in the day, but you can certainly see that it's not of the same sort of standard as the very early top-end Japanese type. Well, this wasn't even top-end, and you can tell that this is a better quality sort of construction than something like this. But it is what it is. These people have got to make a profit, and certainly the footprint has gone down because by sort of 1990 odd, car design had changed, much more in the way of ergonomics, and certainly not much scope for bolting in big radios such as this, let alone something big like a York 863 or a Binatone 5-star. So nice little size radios. I'd call them a MIDI size radio, but there we go. And I guess we would have seen something of a more modern way about them, in as much as in the early days there was small radios. I think we had a Compact 40, I think it was a thing called a Falcon, which was about this size, but generally they were fairly big, and features such as an up and down microphone would have been something of a posh feature on an expensive radio. But both these radios would have had up and down mics. I didn't get them with those microphones, unfortunately, but these would have up and down microphones as standard, which was something that say the older radios wouldn't have done unless they were top end. So we started to see things like that. Fairy lights started to become the norm, predated really before LCDs really started to kick in. So we're still into fairy lights and LEDs and things like that. It is what it is. I say these radios, certainly the bottom one is 1990, that's 31 years old. It's still working. I had to do a minor repair on the buttons in the DNT. I think the DNT had a sister radio called the Compact 40, which was a mid-block radio, and this was just the sort of radio that would have been around sort of as we moved through into the 1990s. And as we moved through into the 1990s, the next sort of main event in CB was the introduction of the legalization of FM on what we call the mid-block CEPT channels. But in those days we weren't allowed to combine the two in one set. An 80 channel set was illegal, so that's why we saw a lot of sometimes ham-fisted conversions of some radios like this to 80 channels with piggyback boards and things like that. But that's why, because we weren't allowed to have all 80 channels in one radio. But we basically had to buy two radios. So quite often there was a version, say I think it was 1166 version of the Midland, which was the mid-block version, and we had the Contact 40, which very similar to this. You had to run two radios if you wanted to have access to all 80 channels. But as time moved on, we were allowed to have all 80 channels in a single radio, and ultimately you're allowed to have a multi-norm radio like these modern ones, where you select your sort of country code, so to speak, and it sets it up for your particular country. So that's pretty much how it went. But I still got a bit of a soft spot for these as I say, MIDI size radios. So they're old, but they still work. They work quite well. So hopefully you'll get to see some illustration of that when I put this one on the bench. And ultimately, because it's got a small radio, I'll be taking this Midland out on the hills with me once again when we're allowed out. So there we go. That's another little segment of history from the CB scene here in the UK as we progressed out of the sort of bust element to the plateau, which is pretty much been like that ever since, to be honest. So there we go. That's how the timeline is progressing. So next week we'll probably look at some of the more modern kit as we get towards the present day. Righto folks, here we have the Midland 77-1165 circa 1990 straightforward UK FM radio. So I'm going to fire that up now and let's see what it's doing. So I have used it in the past, this radio, so it might be alright, but I can't ever remember if I've tuned it up. Now I had it apart recently because I had to have a play around with the mic, and I'm sure these were a 5-pin DIN originally, and I do know that the original microphones had up and down, so I had this microphone with it. It worked to a fashion, but it had a bit of a funny key up, and I did discover it was actually wired wrong, so I've had to correct that. So I've had this apart, but I haven't done any tune up on it. So anyway, let's fire it up. I've fired up the kit there. Now the radio is one of these ones of an era where it always boots up on channel 9. So we get up to centre, it's only a straight 40. So let's have a look. On the TriStar it's doing, let's get in onto the meters for you. Let's do a bit of zoomage. Okay, you're a bit off to one side, so it'll look a little bit out to you, but I'll be looking at the meter straight on. So on the TriStar meter, it is cutting the top digit off a little bit for you, but it's doing 27,791 as a quick check. I'll put it on the Thandar later on when it's warmed up. Channel 40, while it's still cold, let's check it's in lock. 27,991. Down on channel 1, 27,601. So that's looking pretty good. Okay, deviation, we're on FM mod at the moment on the TriStar. I can get it to go a little bit over 2.5 kilohertz on a whistle, so I'll have to trim that back a little tiny bit. Okay, let's have a look at power output. Looking at the top meter, and it's doing a healthy 4 watts, so I can't knock that. And let's knock it back to, this is still of the era where you've got a high-low power switch. And it's doing about 250 milliwatts on low power. Okay, so doesn't look like there's much to do actually, but I'll whip it apart and we'll take a look inside. Righto folks, just a quick experiment before I do take this radio apart is I'm going to measure the power on all 3 meters. Now I'm pretty sure the TriStar is a happy meter full stop, and the Micronta is okayish, but the Radio Shack meter is the grumpy one. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce then, after I take the readings, introduce my Japanese made, fairly good quality by the feel of it, low pass filter, TVI filter, and we'll see how much those power outputs as indicate drop on those meters. Now we would expect, according to my chart, okay, that for this one says an insertion loss on that low pass filter of 0.5 dB, which equates to 11% power loss. So we'll see how the results pan out. Right, let's zoom in on those meters and take a meter reading on each one. Okay, let's have a look. I'll write them down as we go. Right, so on the top meter, it's been warming up for a while now, so it may have gone down a little bit. No, it is showing bang on 4 watts. About 4.75 on the Micronta, and about 5.5 watts on the TriStar. So for, can you remember already? My memory's terrible. Middle meter, actually it's 4.5 on the micronta, and I've forgotten the last one already as well. It is ridiculous. And that's shown just over 5 watts on the TriStar. Okay, let's get that thing connected up and see what we've got. Okay, so there we go. We have the radio connected to the transceiver end of the low pass filter, and from the other side of the low pass filter into the test kit as normal. And obviously the test kit is on a dummy load, so SWR is 1 to 1, and I've just tested it and it is. Okay, let's go back up to those meters then and we'll see what we've got. Okay folks, I've done the maths. I hope it's not wrong. Okay, from the top meter, if I take off 0.5 dB, I should expect 3.56 watts. So let's have a look. Indeed, it's 3.5 watts on that top meter. So yeah, that's all good. That's exactly as expected. Now the middle meter should be pretty much on 4 watts now, and it's slightly under. So that's about 3.8, 3.9. So yeah, there's a little bit of spurious there, a little harmonic been filtered out there by the look of it. And the bottom one, we should expect to see 4.45 watts on that happy meter at the bottom. And it is 4.45 watts. So pretty much this has not filtered out, by the look of it, too much in the way of harmonics, which is great. So I think the Radio Shack pretty much seems to be quite well notched for reading 27 megs. And indeed the other two as well. Maybe not the one in the middle. That seemed to lose about 2.2 of a watt more than I would have anticipated. But certainly goes to show that it has done something. Certainly on this meter it seems to be pretty wide banded in what it reads. That was a happy meter, but it came down by the amount that I would expect with a 0.5 dB insertion loss. So I can pretty much safely say that this radio, this Midland, isn't chucking out too much in the way of spurious emissions and harmonics above 30 megahertz. Now if these readings had dropped significantly more than 0.5 dB, having put this in line, then it would indicate that this radio was chucking out a fair bit of crap. So there we go, a little rudimentary check for you. Right, let's get this thing apart. Let's just power it down in case I blow something up taking it apart. Pretty clean. Give it a deflux, a bit of isopropyl before I put it back together. Oh, it's got a pluggable speaker as well. Look, that's nice. There we go. Cute little speaker there. Right, there's the guts of the Midland. Try and do the old zoomage again. I had this apart last week because I'm pretty sure this was a 5-pin, but it does actually say on the board 4-pin, so perhaps some of the early ones were 4-pin. But somebody's mucked about with it, obviously, because they've lost the original mic or something like that, I don't know. But basically the end wire there is a plug-in connector there. The end wire there that's insulated off, that is for your up and down function. If you short it to earth, the radio goes down channel. And apparently, I found on the internet, if you switch in a 22k resistor, that's what makes it go up. Obviously, that sends whatever signal to the whatever chip to make it do that. So there we go. And the other ones are just the usual thing. Transmit. Receive doesn't actually go through the microphone on this one. So you just got, I don't know which is which. I can look it up for you if anybody wants to know. Just let me know in the comments. And it's going to be audio, ground, and TX. So there we are, but that's the one that's been mucked about with, and probably even if this was a 4-pin originally, they just dropped it off that bottom pin there because obviously when they were plugging in the normal microphone, so to speak, it was causing trouble. But the good thing, and I do remember it, the good thing about it is all the presets, if you can see that properly, probably not, they are labelled anyway. So for example, that's the meter, that's squelch down there. I'll go through this properly, deviation in the middle. Anyway, so there we are, nice little radio really. I don't think that's bad at all. So there we are, that's what a radio looks like from circa 1990. Right, so folks, let's crack on. I'm not going to do a full tune-up on this one because I know it actually works quite well. So, Mr. Richard hasn't done one of these on his UK CB servicing, so I would be guessing somewhat on how these cans affect transmit, receive, and FM detector and all this type of stuff. So I'll leave well alone until I'm better experienced to do so, or Richard does a video on this one to do a full service. But certainly with the presets all marked, and even if they weren't marked, I've got enough test kit etc to put them right if I muck them up. But first of all, let's do the power. Now I know it's all right anyway, but in case yours isn't, let's have a go. So according to what it says on the board here, we have, I'm pretty sure that's the one there. That doesn't fit. Let's find a better tool for that. It's better. Let's see if that's the one, shall we? It is. And that's it. That's the maximum it'll do actually. Is 4 watts. So high power. Zoom in a bit. High power is that one there, okay? So let's set the low power now. And that is low actually. So let's set that to just shy of half a watt, 400 milliwatts. And indeed that's the one. I'll check the power supply output. It is 13.8. Okay, so that's done. Let's move on now to FM deviation, which is that one right there. Right, got the tone generator application on the tablet, and that's 1 kilohertz. FM mod on the TriStar. Oh yeah, that is over the top a little bit there, as I suspected. Change tool, there's actually a crosshead one in there. Whoops. So I'll set that to about 2.2 there. And that is perfect. Under a whistle, no more than 2.5. I'll just show you that. Tone. Gauge is about 2.2 on the bottom scale. Peaking at about 2.4 on a whistle, so that's jolly grand. Okay, let's get rid of that noise. The squelch action on this one's absolutely fine. I've got no reason to muck around. But if you did want to adjust the squelch, it is RV2 there, and it says squelch on it, so no problem. That was the deviation there. High power, low power, and now we've just got the meters to set. So we'll have a go at that, shall we? I'll get the signal generator out in a minute. So we're only showing 2 bars there on, I tell a lie, that should be on high power. That should be 1 bar then on low power. We're showing 4, so I think that one's TX meter. Let's have a look. No, it isn't. That must be RX meter. Oh, it doesn't want to move at all. Okay, I'll put it to low power and just set it so it comes up as 1. It won't go down. It always shows 2 bars minimum. Oh well, so be it. So it shows 2 bars on low power and 4 bars on high power. Nothing I can do about that. Okay, it won't go down any lower than that. So that one there is TX meter. Double check. Yeah, that one's TX meter. Okay. And that one is RX meter. That I'll set on the signal generator in a moment. So next thing to do is check whether it's on frequency. I've got the fan dial. We know it's there or thereabouts with a rudimentary check on the TriStar. Let's have a look. I'll take you up to the Thandar meter a moment. Okay, so all I used for this, and get it in shot, is I've just got from the BNC on the Thandar, so a little rubber duck off of an old handheld, just connected through there, and I just sniffed the frequency as it's coming out the back of the radio. That's it's not directly connected, so we'll see what we're doing. Get it to sniff properly. Here we are. There we are. We got it now. 2779052. 2779052. Toggling 53. So that has dropped with age. So I'll try and bring that up now to see if we can get it somewhere like right. Hopefully there's enough left in the crystal to do so. Okay, folks, we got there in the end. It's very finicky little control. That's a 25 toggling 2.6, which is absolutely perfect. So really good that I was able to bring it up onto frequency, even though now, as we say, this is a 1990 radio, and yep, the crystal's still good. Okay, let's crack on. Okay, folks, right, signal generator is on, and that's generating minus 73 dB at the moment. I'll tell you what that is in microvolts with an annotation on the video. I haven't got the chart in front of me, but I think I'll set that. This is 159 plus 30 on the little strip there. I'll set that so it's lighting up the plus 9. And then what I'll do, I'll key up with the handheld fairly nearby to make sure we actually do get a plus 30. Otherwise, I don't see the point of setting it spot on and then nothing ever gives you a 30 plus. So that's what I'll do. So that is going to be that preset there, I believe. So let's see if that actually does anything. Yes, it does. So we'll light up the £9. I'll tell you what, I'll get it so it just lights up, because I think I'm generating underneath a genuine £9 signal S9. So we'll set it to that, and I'll make sure with the handheld we do get the plus 30 fire up. Okay, turn off the signal generator. So handheld on half a watt, or probably about 1/4 of a watt. From the other side of the room, lights up the lot. So I think that's pretty sweet. So that'll have to do. It's never going to be the most accurate thing in the world anyway for fairy lights. So we've set the RX meter. So I'm just going to check the squelch now to see if that's there or thereabouts, and we'll take it from there. I think that's pretty much as much as I want to do with this one. Okay, folks, let's just check the squelch action. So set that to threshold. Let's see what happens. Turn on the signal generator. We're on minus 132 dB. So let's raise the noise level. It's coming at 115 dB. And it's leaving at 117. Okay, that seems alright to me. So I'll just check the top end now. Now I actually want to be able to squelch out an S9, because when you're up on the hills and stuff you get a lot of big signals, and I want a bit of squelch out an S9. So squelch now is on maximum, and let's see if it comes in So increasing the signal level from the signal generator to its maximum level I can go, which is minus 70 dB. Nothing has come in. It's not far off full travel there. So if I key up now on my handheld on low power, if that breaks the squelch on full on, that'll do me. It does. So I'm happy with that. I know Richard likes to set his differently, but say up on the hills I get a lot of traffic and I want to be able to squelch out an S9 if I possibly can. So I'm happy with that squelch action. I haven't adjusted it, and had I wanted to, it's that adjustment there. So let's have a quick run through those adjustments once again, and then we'll call it a wrap on the Midland 771165. So that was the high power adjustment for 4 watts. That was the low power adjustment for 0.4 watts, and that's what is controlled with the switch on the back. That is the transmit meter. That is the receive meter. That is your FM deviation. So that is the squelch, and the little red trimmer there with the rather finicky setting for the frequency. So there we go. Like I say, you've got a little 4-way plug there, unpluggable thingy there, and that N1 is for your up and down microphone. So when it's shorted, that wire, your channels will drop. When it, apparently, I've not tried this, when you switch it through a 22K resistor, those channels will rise. So in other words, the up and down is done on one wire within the microphone. I do not have that microphone. I know there's one available at 15 quid, but I'm not planning on spending that amount of money on this radio. So there we go. That is it. I'll put all this back together, and we'll call that done. Righto folks, hopefully you enjoyed my little bit of fettling on the Midland 771165. Hardly a name for a radio that rolls off the tongue, but there we go. So anyway, the most interesting thing really, and I think what I should have done is wear my specs actually, because I think I read the bottom meter a little bit wonky. I reckon having put that low pass filter in line, I reckon according to those 2 meters at the bottom and my calculation how much power I was expecting to lose with the 0.5 dB insertion loss, I reckon, as a rough estimate, I reckon that this was dumping about 200 milliwatts of stuff above 30 megahertz. I guess the cutoff of this filter is 30 megahertz, and I say after I applied the insertion loss, these were down by about 200 milliwatts, around that, more than I would have expected. So certainly it's killed off, by look of it, some harmonics, maybe some spurious emissions above the cut-off point of 30 megahertz. Now this one was, I think, £15 delivered. It's Japanese made apparently, and it says on there whether that's true or not. Got a load of weight to it. It feels like really good quality stuff. So yeah, I would say what's not to lose really, but certainly maybe some of the cheaper end of the scale as far as these things are concerned might not be much cop, but this one certainly seems to be doing something. And just this week actually I saw a Yaesu low pass filter, and it's a proper amateur radio jobby. I'll put the part number in, and I think it coats 1 or 2 kilowatts or something like that, and that went second hand. That went for 20 UK pounds delivered. I think it went for £15. It's on an eBay auction. £15 plus a £5 delivery. 20 quid for a Yaesu low pass filter. So yeah, I would certainly give this type of thing some consideration, and also have a look on the internet, because I say there's that ongoing discussion with where you would place them, right next to the radio or the last thing before the signal hits the antenna. But there we go. But certainly I reckon, well, my experience just by that would indicate that even on a small system, it's got to be worth putting in line. And certainly if you imagine now that you've cleaned up your output signal from your radio, and if you're going down the route of using amplifiers, even though they're not legal, then surely it's better to feed that amp with a clean signal, or at least make sure that nothing dirty is making it to the airwaves. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, prevention is better than cure. It's better to prevent any interference to your neighbours or whatever, and in that way things can't turn sour, because probably these days there's less neighbourly interaction, I would say, and there's always a chance that someone's going to bang in a complaint into the authorities, and that's basically how they work these days. They've got limited resources, limited manpower, and what they tend to do is react on reports or complaints to specific interference complaints. So it's best not to be one of those people that is subject to a complaint. So there we go. Food for thought. Right, hopefully that little radio will be out on the hills with me at some point, small enough to carry in the old backpack, so we'll put it through its paces. Okay folks, a common question that I've been asked over the years: how do you get the braid to start folding over on itself on some of these bazooka type antennas, coax dipoles, sleeve antennas, call them what you will. But yeah, indeed, I've done this for years, because basically I've gone over mainly to the T2LT antenna, which doesn't require that braid folding over. So there we go. But there's still some nice designs out there, and especially for something like VHF or whatever, particularly receive antennas for things like marine band or whatever, or even transmit antennas. There's some nice designs out there, and they do involve that folding over. Obviously, the more folding over you have to do, the more difficult it is slightly, but there we go. I would say when you make your measurements, allow quite a bit more, because as the braid folds over, it basically doesn't cover as much down the cable, because it's going over a larger circumference, and also you lose a bit because you can't get it as taut as it would have been inside the cable. So even think about measuring off 50% more than you actually need to make sure you don't run short, because the last thing you want to do is to try and get to the point where it folds over, to try and fold over more. That's pretty much impossible. But anyway, let's have a go. So I'm not making any particular antenna, it's just a scrap piece of cable, so I'll just score around the point there. Let's just strip off a bit. Be careful with sharp knives. I'm sure there's a bespoke tool out there for this type of thing somewhere. Okay, so let's expose a bit of the... This is not a bad coax. Some coaxes, it just don't want to happen. Now, what you want to do, whatever you do, don't fight it. If it's gone wrong, it's unlikely that you'll be able to recover from it. But I've always referred to it as like bird cage. Sort of open out the braid. Don't squash it, whatever you do. And just make sure it's not stuck. Sometimes this braid can be stuck to the dielectric. Just make sure it's free to move. Don't squash it. Be very careful. Just make sure it's all relaxed on the cable itself, okay? If you rush it, if you fight it, it will go wrong. And sort of think like the braid is thinking. Make it do what you want it to do. Make it want to go where you want it to go. So literally just relax in that braid. And you'll see that sort of bulges out more and more as you sort of work it down towards the point where you want it to fold over. Okay, carefully don't squash it, otherwise you had it. And when it's sort of thereabouts, all nicely relaxed, you can start sort of bringing it down onto that point. See that sort of bird cage effect there? Bring it down onto the point, and you'll see that start to go up through the middle of it. And now it started to go. Okay, so carry on, feed it and draw it over. Don't squash it. Feed it, feed it. It should start to go, and start to stretch it. Pull it down the length of the cable. Okay, it's going. Okay, keep feeding it. Don't squash it. Keep saying it. Don't squash it. And it'll come a point where you'll start to see where it's already gone over. That's great. You're on a winner there. So there we go. and then all you do is carry on gently, making sure nothing gets caught up, otherwise it'll catch and it'll squash, and then just bring that braid over the top lip. It's easy. Once it starts to go, it wants to go. And that's it. That's its entirety. But as you can see, if I now fold that over, the braid is that much shorter than it was. Let's do it properly. Braid is probably about 10% shorter than it was before, so it's about 10% shorter. So you want to be adding about 25% to your measurements, really, because it's never quite as long on the cable sheath as it was when it was part of the coax. But there we go, that's how you do it. That is the braid fold over for many designs of antennas out there, and there's some good ones out there if you want to Google flower pot antennas, coax dipole, sleeve antennas, all that sort of stuff. It's out there, but that's how you get that braid to go, and that's how you get it to fold over. Okay, hopefully in the next few episodes I'll be doing more on the quite sort of portable type antennas, because that's my main area of interest, because spring is here, lockdown is hopefully ending, fingers crossed, and I can get back out doing my first love of radio, which is out and about. Okay, hopefully that's of some help. Righto folks, hope you enjoyed that little bit of braid folding shenanigans there. So yeah, indeed, what I'm going to try and do is in the show try and respond to some of the comments in a sort of video manner, rather than try and answer them on the actual comment section of the previous video. So when I get something in like the braid folding thing, it's easier just to demonstrate it like that rather than try and describe it in a comment. So there we go. So another one that I've had come through this week is from Rob. So yeah, very valid one as well. It's about the mic gain setting on the CRT Xenon. So we've got two things really with radios. You've got the deviation with FM radio, and you also got the mic gain. The mic gain really is for the sensitivity of the mic. So if you're in a noisy truck or whatever, you might want to bring the microphone closer to your mouth and turn the mic gain down. Or if you're in a quiet location, you want to sort of be a bit more relaxed and your system's got enough oomph, you can turn the mic gain up and perhaps sit in a more relaxed manner with the microphone about, I don't know, about a foot 18 inches away. Probably you'd need a power mic to be able to do that trick, but who knows. Anyway, the CRT Mini, that is just a really good radio as far as picking up the body of the audio. So the deviation on that is set to no more than the other ones, but it just really does pick up audio very well, that one. And you can see much the same in Richard's videos when he does the test into the home base at the end of his videos. There's a lot of difference, even though he sets them up the same, there's a lot of difference between the audio quality. Sometimes some has got clarity, some have got more volume, etc. A lot of difference between the various radios, even when, as I do, they're all set the same on the old deviation meter. So the S Mini, that's, I say, that is something else. But the other ones, they do sound okay, there's nothing wrong with them. But when you compare them with the S Mini, they do seem a little bit quiet. But going back to Rob's question, he was asking about the setting I had for the mic gain. And I had it set to 8 from a maximum of 10. So what I've done in this next little clip, I've done a back-to-back test of the setting at 8 and the setting at 10, and I think it does bring in a little bit more. So it does seem to be a little bit weak on transmitted audio, the Xenon. So I think again that raising of that mic gain has helped, providing obviously you're not in a really noisy environment. And I tend to use the microphone about 3 inches away from my mouth. So this is exactly the situation I had with the audio test you're about to see, and I think it has brought it up a little bit as well. Not a lot, but a little bit, so it all helps. What I found when I was doing the deviation settings in the service menu, it seemed to plateau. You get to a point and then extra didn't seem to make any difference. It hit the ceiling. So that's pretty much where it's at, and I think yeah, I think I will now pop that up to maximum on the mic gain as well, so I'll turn it up to 10. And certainly not causing any problems, and I was holding it basically about 3 inches away from my mouth. So there we go. So Generally though, if you've got a mic gain, sometimes you've got to leave the mic gain all the way up on these radios anyway. But what I found in the past, saying I was in a noisy environment, out on the hills, whatever, sometimes I end up with a microphone pressed up to my cheek. I don't hold it right in front, like you're swallowing the microphone, because you hear people and they're blowing into it all the time. If you hold it off to the side, you still get the volume, but you don't get the, like, sounds like someone's swallowing the microphone. So that's what I've done, and sometimes I've had to turn the mic gain down a little bit just to stop it being over the top when you've got it that close. But generally about 3 inches away, as I've done with the Xenon. I've now whacked it up to 10, and it does seem to have brought it up a little bit more. So hopefully there we are, Rob, that's answered your question, and indeed it's a very good one, and I've discovered that yeah, it's probably worth just popping that mic gain up a couple of notches, obviously depending on your voice and depending on whether you're in a noisy environment or not. Here we have the CRT Xenon, the mic gain set to number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we have the mic gain set to maximum of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mic gain set to 10 on the CRT Xenon. And now it's set to number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Microphone is about 3 inches away from my mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Setting number 5 on the mic gain. CRT Xenon. And back to setting number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. CRT mic gain testing.
Like I say, if you're going to be on the side for a little bit, we'll start passing round, and if you hear anyone, give a shout up, buddy, and then the mic will come over to you, if that's okay.
Yeah, we're okay.
Roger, roger. No problems at all. Cheers, Paul. I've just turned my page in my logbook, and I haven't got another page left. So since we've been doing the net, I've gone through a full logbook page, so that's not too bad. Okay, before we carry on, this is 163 Oscar Papa 255. Calling on behalf of the Mid Wales DX Group home base net. Is there any further QSKs, breaks, please? QRZ.
26 Oscar Papa 254, standing mobile, standing by.
Roger, roger. Yeah, I've got that, no problems. Back to you, Nige. Okay, any more stations on the side? 163 Oscar Papa 634. 26 Lima Tango 727. Please come back with your personal and your QTH, please. Yeah, no problem there, David. L3 Hertfordshire, I've got you here into the mobile. You're coming through about a San Diego 3 Radio 5, yeah? Yeah, QSL on that, yeah, very pleased with that, getting out quite well then. Okay, mate, that's brilliant, nice to make the call, and we'll see if there's anybody else out there. Any more QSKs on the side? 163 Oscar Papa 634 and company, listening on behalf of the Mid Wales net.
Hey, nice, that's a hell of a copy.
The 09 station, QRZ. Yeah, 26 Oscar Papa, did you say 398, Richard? Yeah, Oscar Papa 098, 98, and I think you said it was Ken, and you're down in Kent, is that correct? Sorry, Richard, it's kicking in. It's just, you are in the back of the radio, but I am getting you Radio 5 when conditions allow there, Richard. And that's certainly a good copy, because Kent is a long way from here. Back to you. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much indeed. Ben will have you in the log there. We are running the Mid Wales net, as you won't normally do on a Thursday evening, so Ben will have you down in the net. Back to you. Okay, no problem at all. That's fine. Okay, any more stations on the side of 365 Oscar Papa 634 Mid Wales?
Well, that's it then, folks. That's it for another episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed some of the content. And there we go. We'll be back hopefully again next week. And I don't know what the date is. It must be getting close now to, I think Wales is now going to do their revised stipulations on what's allowed in, what's allowed out, and all the rest of it as far as lockdown's concerned. So yeah, on the edge of the old seat there. So keep an eye out for Studio 3, which, as I said, is the wide world. Studio 2, Studio 1 back at the shed, and Studio 3 is my favourite one. So let's see what we can do with all that sort of stuff. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best, and we'll catch you on the next one.